But I wanted to just get back to and say thanks to Traverse Connect for their interest in hosting these forums. I think it's important for all stakeholders in the community to have an opportunity to hear from each of our final candidates and to ask any questions that they have. We are fortunate to have a strong public school system here in Traverse City. And as we look forward to hiring our next superintendent, we're going to actually make that decision tomorrow night. So we're counting on our community stakeholders to help us work with our next superintendent and have them be successful here in Traverse City. Our students, teachers, and staff are relying on us to do our very best. So today I'm pleased to introduce our second candidate, Dr. John VanWagoner. Dr. VanWagoner has worked in education for over 22 years as a teacher, school administrator, instructional specialist, high school redesign manager, legislative liaison for the Michigan Department of Education, associate superintendent at the county level, and is currently the superintendent of Alpena Public Schools, which he's been there for 4 years. He holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree in secondary education from Saginaw Valley State University, has a master's degree in athletic administration from Michigan State University, and also a master's degree in K through 12 educational leadership and a PhD in K through 12 educational leadership, both from Western Michigan University. He is also the proud husband to his wife, Sarah, and their 4 school-aged daughters. So welcome, Dr. VanWagoner. And to get us started here, could you please describe why you're interested in being the superintendent of TCAPS and why you are best qualified to lead our district?
So first of all, again, good morning and thank you for the opportunity. I want to really put a shout out to Traverse Connect and all of the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance on the work that's happened with the governor to open our region of the state up to begin to be able to have our people be able to go back to work with real safe social distancing components and the health measures that need to happen. But I know that was done with the work of, a lot of people that are on this call as well as others across the region. So we're excited about that, but also, optimistically cautious. So I'm really excited for the opportunity of looking at the superintendency in Traverse City area public schools. I believe that it's a beacon school district. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity for me. I love Northern Michigan and the region. I've been here in Alpena for 4 years and have had the opportunity to experience Northern Michigan life and everything that entails and really that uniqueness, but also understand the challenges that come with that. And as you talked about, talent development is one of those things, and bringing talent to our region for it to thrive, for people to live, work, and play here in Northern Michigan. And so I think that, Traverse City and the Grand Traverse Bay region has so much to offer, has a lot to offer my family, educationally, professionally, all of the opportunities that are there just across the board in the arts, in culturally and just a great community to have an opportunity to be able to join. And so when I take a look at opportunities, the reality is we love Alpena. We love where we're at. My family is very happy here. And if it wasn't, just this opportunity, there are a handful of opportunities that I would only consider, leaving Alpena for. And this is one of them. I believe it's just one of those, top 5 jobs in the state of Michigan. And for me right now, the top job that I'm looking to move my family and to, finish my career in Traverse City. And I'm excited to have an opportunity to work with folks like you, as I've done throughout my career, and be able to contribute and to help build another great place in the state of Michigan. So again, I'm thankful for the opportunity to talk to you today.
Thank you. Warren, did you have a question from Traverse Connect, or Molly, did you want to start to open that up to the group?
Yeah, definitely. So again, if anyone has questions, please, this is your time to ask them. But I would like to start off with Liz McKellar. I know she had a question. So Liz, go ahead and you can unmute yourself.
Good morning, Dr. Wagner, and thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
I work for Traverse Connect, as well as I am on the board of the TBA ISD, and have been for many years. So I'm pretty excited about this. I'm going to ask a question that was very important when we were interviewing Nick, actually, and that is, describe your leadership style, how you handle, you know, the public, the parents, the board. In general, the way you go about your leadership and the style that comes with that.
Talk all the time that I'm a very transformational leader. I really believe in working and collaborating with others. I feel like if there's anything you learn as superintendent is that you don't do all of the work that needs to be done. You have to count on people, and that's people inside our school community, as well as folks that are outside of our school in the community, to make sure that we have those opportunities. As you talked about, trying to bring people to the area and be able to develop a workforce, we have a strong role in that of building the students and people that have the skill set to be able to help our community to thrive. And I really believe as a leader that I have to be able to work with people and to be able to keep a very calm attitude, but also listen for understanding, not listen for debate, but just try and have a sense of where people are coming from, what their issues are. Are there ways to do things differently? I always pride myself in trying to think of, you know, there are out of the box opportunities and life experiences that people have and bring to the table that makes everybody unique. And there's the adage that the smartest person in the room is the room. And collectively, we have to embrace that and say what are the things that each person can bring to the table that can make a difference, that can make us greater as the whole. And I'm a very people person. I have a very open door policy. I believe in being transparent as a leader to our community. That there's no surprises, and that's the thing you're going to consistently hear from me with our board, with our community, is that we need to make sure that people are informed and that we're able to make solid choices, always that put students first. And those are tough decisions many times, and we're going to be faced with many of those tough decisions. But from a leadership standpoint, we have to have everybody has an opportunity to give their voice, and I need to be able to listen. Our team needs to be able to listen together. And as a leader, I believe in being, as a superintendent, the chief leader and the chief learner for the school district. And if we're able to, accomplish that and work together, we will only make whatever the product or the decision is stronger through input of again, that collaborative leadership and as well as distributive leadership. Again, as I said, I've learned the hard way early in my career that you can't do it all. And I am not the person that is in that classroom in front of that group of kids, or like at the ISD, maybe it's a career center that's working with, a group of students in automotive or culinary arts or digital media, whatever that is. But it's my job to make sure that they're supported and they have the resources and things that they need, but as well as that they feel they have a voice to be able to speak up, across the organization and across our region as a community of learners. And, that's really our region, needs to be a community of learners. And so as a leader, I believe in being very transparent, honest, open communication, and having that transformational leadership style that everybody has an opportunity to be heard and seriously listen to what they're trying to say.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
We did have a question that came in earlier today that I would like to read off. It's the question is, in this era of declining budgets, scarcity of colleges graduating certified teachers, and virtual learning by demand, what can we as the business community do to assist the educational support here at TCAPS?
So I think that the business community is a very important part. Here I was fortunate to have a very, very close relationship with our chamber and economic development arm, Target Alpena. And what we've tried to do is say, what does the business community, we know that the business community has needs of talent. Talent is the number one thing that's been the largest obstacle here, and I believe it's across northern Michigan, and Michigan for that matter, of not having the talent that we need for jobs that are going unfilled, but skilled work. And so, you know, for us, it's a matter of trying to help produce and get students interested in that. So that's where the business community can come in, is to come in and show, you know, our students what's available. To be able to, one of the things we were fortunate enough to work with our chamber, as well as employers in the region, to be one of the region areas that won the Marshall Plan for Talent. We were one of only 14 talent regions to be able to have that opportunity. And we received $1.98 million to be able to collectively build opportunities for the business community in our schools to work together. So we have kids that are doing job shadowing. We have students that, you know, hopefully here are able to still do summer internship opportunities. For students to be able to go and just visit, some of our younger kids to go and visit. So many times in a region, I know for sure in the Traverse Bay region, there are kids that have no idea of the opportunities that are there. The businesses that make things or manufacture things that are world class, that they would only dream of being able to do, but it's right in their own backyard. And so many times just they don't know that. They think that maybe they have to go downstate or out of state to be able to have that opportunity. So collectively, we've tried hard to be able to work with all of our employers in our region to say, there are great opportunities right here. There are things that you have the ability to be able to make a great wage and be able to raise a family here and be able to stay right here. And again, we know with the geography and all that, it's one of the greatest places in the world, literally, to live. But some kids just don't see the opportunity there and think they have to leave northern Michigan to get that. And so we've worked hard with, again, all of our chamber partners. We have lunches where we invite all of our businesses in and invite them to see what we're doing. We have them collaborate on what it is we're trying to do. How can they come in and help and be able to mentor students and be able to help us develop our facilities to make it look like a real world facility in that matter. For instance, we were able, part of the Marshall Grant, to put in a $1 million mechatronics lab. And we were able to have our community partners come in, and we were able to talk about what type of machinery and things do you use in your businesses globally that we can do. So we looked at Haas CNC mini mills. We looked at different CAD programming. We looked at all those things, had input from them to say, a student can literally walk out your door and into our door and start on a well-paying job versus an entry-level skill in our organization. But how do we make that seamless? How do we make that transition happen? So that's something that we've been able to do. And have done things too in our own education community, mentioning like, you know, shortage of teachers and those things. We're even doing teacher prep academies right here. We're starting this year with Central Michigan University. It's the first pilot that Central has done to have our kids be able to start their venture down those teaching professions right here and stay in our community. And so we pride ourselves in that ability to be able to partner with them. I was fortunate that the director of our Chamber of Commerce, Jackie Krawczyk, who's just recently moved on, was the vice president of our school board. And so had a great relationship with her, but still do from that matter. We've had some new leadership recently in our chamber. But Mike Mahler, who's our Target Alpena economic developer, we're working on a project right now to try and be able to, we have some property that is being looked at by a potential business coming in. And so how can we work to be able to find a way to financially make that work for all of us to be able to, again, bring people and bring jobs to our community. So those are a few things we've tried to do and really strongly believe in working with the business sector to make sure we're all competitive and we're all able to recruit the type of talent and people we need.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I do know that Trevor had a question. So Trevor, would you like to introduce yourself, your organization, and go ahead and unmute your microphone?
Sure. Hi, Dr. VanWagoner. My name is Trevor Tkach. I'm the president and CEO of Traverse City Tourism, the Convention and Visitors Bureau for the region. So I've kind of got a two-part question or twofold, if you will. You're familiar with Michigan and the seasonality of things here. We're still very much an agrarian community, but we're also a tourism and hospitality community. And so the summer months are very important to business here. It's important to a lot of the students. It's when they make money, of course, when they want to go off to college, as you're talking about. And so what I'm looking for here is maybe your thoughts and ideas about how TCAPS and other school districts might be addressing balanced calendar and year-round calendar in the coming years, and also how technology plays into that decision-making and planning. And especially now as we're in this crisis mode, I think everything's being accelerated, so maybe that puts a different lens on this, but I would be interested to see what your thoughts are on how we work with a balanced calendar, if that's part of the plan, and also how you integrate technology into that plan.
So let me tackle the first part of the balanced calendar idea, and starts before Labor Day. Good family friends, Dan Musser, the former owner of the Grand Hotel, and we've had this conversation many times. And it's an important part of the region to have talent and workforce, and that's something that I know that the greater Traverse City area appreciates and values. And so I think that we have to honor that collectively. We've done some different things in Alpena here with that. Of starting before Labor Day, we don't see the traffic and stuff generally. On this side, the Sunrise side, after Labor Day, that northern Michigan does. On the sunset side. So I feel that we need to be able to find a balance with that. And one of the things we've worked hard on trying to create are flexible schedules for students, and trying to find ways of looking at competency-based education where students are able to work on things and be able to take classes, possibly even, maybe they take a summer morning course to be able to work in the afternoon, that'll allow them, maybe they have a reduced schedule in the fall. As education, and I think this new norm that we're hitting with technology allows our students to be able to be, flexible. And we pride ourselves in becoming a district of choices that allows students and families that maybe need that, or others that want some flexibility to be able to do that, being online courses, those things. But one of the things we've tried to do is we really want, versus an online course that is a vendor-driven course that there's a teacher in Colorado that maybe teaches, we want our own teachers to be able to have that capacity for a student to be able to take that class. But maybe they're in school on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Tuesday and Thursday it's virtual, and they work on it asynchronous at their own time. Maybe it's in the evening, maybe it is in the morning, so they can have that job. We know with even some levels of students that maybe are in poverty, that may be something that's a lifeline for their family to be able to have that opportunity. And obviously for business owners, especially family businesses, that's an important part. So I'm of the belief that as education in K-12 schools, especially at the secondary level, it's going to begin to expand to much more like a college model. I really believe that you're going to see opportunity, as we've already have built out things like early college programming that I know, we have here with Alpena Community College. I know TCAPS has with the community college in Traverse City, to be able to have, but some kids will come and go in those kind of atmospheres and opportunities. And so I do believe that, that is the direction that a lot of the technology that we're seeing now is going to lead us to. More and more students wanting some choice and flexibility in their scheduling. And I think as a community, it's going to be an important part, because, many of these kids that are not meeting a benchmark and need, either remedial work, or for that matter, students that want to excel faster to possibly graduate early. We need to be able to have the flexibility in our systems to be able to do that. And so I believe having that where students can move at their own pace, or maybe have more time, choose a summer program. I talk about it all the time of you take a student at the Career and Tech Center, of a student, if you are learning to build in construction trades, when are the best months in northern Michigan to be able to learn to do that? It is June, July, and August. But yet with the way our State Aid Act and things are set up, when are we not allowing students to be able to do that? June, July, and August. When we have builders that would be able to hire these kids and mentor these kids and work with these kids, I have builders that are lined up all the time. Well, you have a good kid that'll show up every day, that wants to learn, I'll pay them while they're learning and doing that, but our system is not designed for them to be able to do that. And so we need to advocate with the state for flexibility in those kind of things and those kind of programs where students can learn on the job. Why not have kids be able to earn high school credit, even things in content areas, if they're able to learn content in an atmosphere, in a working atmosphere with a teacher still as a mentor that's taking a look at that is meeting with a mentor that's in the job related field to make sure the student's demonstrating these things. But again, not necessarily a standardized test demonstration, but a performance task. Show me that they're able to balance the cash register at the end of the night. Show us that they're able to do those things. So I believe, working on all those things in combination, I think we can achieve those things that we need to, especially at the secondary level, for kids to, that need more time or to excel, and combine that with the opportunities that workforce presents it for our kids to learn those skills and to be able to earn credit in things towards graduation. So, that, along with, as I've talked about, the technology that allows students to be able to do those, to be able to work at, some kids at 11 at night, work best. As we've seen, coming up to this, and even now, we're seeing that the millennial workforce is used to working sometimes at 10 at night, 2 in the morning, just depends on their life schedule. And with the change in benefit structures of 401ks and those things, they're a transient population even. And so having the ability to use these digital tools, a part of the workforce, and our students learning those things, that's a big thing that we've been a part of. We've created a graduate profile of things that we want a student, when they walk out the door and get that diploma, to be able to demonstrate. And we've worked with our business community to say, what are the key things that you need a student to be able to do? And a lot of those things, they say, does involve technologies, but collaborate using technology and face-to-face to be able to communicate, to be able to problem solve. These things that, our employers are saying that kids right now desperately don't need. They may have a cell phone. It doesn't mean they know how to work in the business community and be able to use that in an educational way to be able to perform and to be able to make a business and that them as an employee stronger. So we have an obligation to work with our business community using that technology for the good and for the needs that they'll have, whether they're ready to enter the workforce right out of high school, or if it's some type of certificate program, or if it's a 2-year or a 4-year degree, whatever that is, we have a responsibility to work and make that happen. So again, I think that as a community, we need to make those decisions together on when you venture into balance calendar, those things. And I think that there's becoming much more fluid ways to do that, that's much more flexible than to say every kid goes in the summer for this amount of period, every kid does that. And we need to look at that and advocate in the flexibility in our state to be able to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we had a question from Whitney Waara. Whitney, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and unmute your microphone?
Hi there. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
I'm Whitney Waara. I have 3 kiddos that are at the Glen Loomis Montessori, the TCAPS Montessori school.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a slightly different question than I did yesterday, which is really around the COVID crisis. So as we've watched all of the businesses and everybody really having to make some very rapid changes, I think one of the things that I've noticed in my own kids' education is the differences between the different classroom levels, the preparedness for addressing these changes. And I think it's really sparked an interesting conversation in the community too. Parents are probably more acutely aware now of the differences in the educational experience of their kids across the district, right? So certain teachers are just really ready to go and others have been less so. My kids, I'm seeing, different needs from us as parents based on their grade level, et cetera. But I think keeping them engaged is a little bit of a challenge because some of them are getting an hour online a day, some of them are getting an hour a week online, and then we have to kind of fill in the gaps.
Right.
And what's really missing to me is, all of those extracurricular pieces that they got to take part in. And, I'm wondering what your thoughts are as you've watched this crisis unfold on what you think the district needs to be doing in preparation for next year with, obviously a couple of different plans probably in place, and how to best serve families and students in a case where we have a lot of online learning happening and they need, they still need band, they still need physical education. It's a huge core part of what keeps them moving,
Right.
and we're all trying to work. So
Absolutely. And that's a big part of it. So, I will tell you, you're not the first parent, that I've had a conversation with on this. That being said, I think that, overall our teachers have done a phenomenal job, realizing they had about 2 weeks, in reality to be able to prepare to be ready for this. So, it has been a hard thing, but I think that, something that our state superintendent said, I think really falls into play here. I think our parents have been very understanding of the realities of what our teachers and our administrators have been faced with such a quick turnaround to have to transition to this fully online model. He also said, however, if we get to the fall and we have something like this or similar to this, and we don't have a better model in place, that the public is not going to be as forgiving with us, because there is now a summer to plan. There's these things that people such as you are depending on our community and even our schools themselves for people to get back to work and to be able to, to provide for their families, and hence they spend money, and we have tax dollars, and we're able to, continue on and do great things as a school. So I think right now, as a school district, it's important. And here in Alpena, we're planning already for those multiple scenarios, and our hope is a face-to-face scenario. That being said, we know there's a great chance of social distancing measures being in place. So you have to look at, how do you bus kids when they have to be 6 foot apart? How do you have a classroom if a desk have to be 6 foot apart from each other, and a classroom right now holds about 32 kids? You can't do that. It's not possible. So how do you look at situations where maybe it is a face-to-face, sometimes online, blended type concept, where maybe kids come Monday and Wednesday, and other groups Tuesday and Thursday, and maybe Friday's a day for kids that need intervention or don't have internet access at home. And so we're going to have to plan those things, as well as right now we need to be able to plan professional development. One of the things we're doing here, when you talk about the inconsistencies in that, we've done a lot of work with our folks in technology of being a one-to-one district. When I walked in the district 4 years ago, our ratio of devices was 8 students to 1 device, and they were tired desktops and computer labs. We reached last year 1-to-1, and we did that all through community donations completely. A huge task to be able to do. But with that, we've started already in our high school of offering blended courses. We have kids that do in fact take Algebra 2 now, where they have their choice of 3 days a week in person, 2 days a week online if they're at 80% mastery. If they're not, they come in and the teacher works individually with them in small groups. Been really, really fantastic for the kids, and our achievement levels have shown those kids that do that, they strive to get that 2 days to have the flexibility they want to maybe work a job, to be able to have extra time, whatever that is. So we're taking that model and trying to put that in place across the district of, okay, teacher, if this happens where there's this model, or come November, we're all the way back out because of an uptick, what is a model that you have that is a much better product that allows students to be able to be much more, the academic achievement levels and the support much more like the classroom, as well as how do we prepare parents and provide support for parents in that aspect to be able to do that. Some will say, I don't know these digital tools, I'm not used to that. Or, I'm not, from a time standpoint, obviously I can't help them when I'm at work, so now I have this late at night. Do we have office hours and things at night? Flexible schedules with teachers and things to be able to help, and flexible staff to be able to help parents. And so we're working through that right now. One of the things we're working on right now is across our district of every single one of our teachers, secretaries, and we're really debating right now, most likely all of our paraprofessionals become Google Level 1 certified, so that we have a standard of technology usage across the district, so that we know people know how to use those tools, such as Google Docs, use Sheets, be able to use Google Meet. All of these, we're a Google district and have these tools, at a very inexpensive cost, but we need to make sure all of our folks are proficient in that, so that we do have a standard of quality and consistency across the district. The other thing is, right now we're working on trying to put uniform systems in place. We have some kids that are over here trying to log into this system, and then they're logging into a different platform over here for this. And well, this teacher uses Seesaw, and this teacher uses Google Classroom, and that. So how can we bring some standardization and consistency across the board? We're working right now on a single platform at the elementary level, single platform at the secondary level. That's a one-stop shop for our kids and our parents to be able to log in, connecting with their grades, all those kind of things. So we've got a ton of work to do in about 13 weeks is the reality, to try and improve the quality of that. And then it will still have to evolve and improve from that standpoint. But tying that in with all of the social and emotional needs of kids that do need counseling, that do need, that maybe a parent has lost a job and needs food, needs basic sustaining life things. It's a tall task. It's an impossible task, but we have to be in the business of impossible. I say it all the time. And we have to rise to the occasion. And quite frankly, if we don't, there is now a marketplace for education in the United States, and especially in the state of Michigan. There will be cyber online schools that will be advertising online. They've already ramped up and bought spots on TV stations and radio stations that have a turnkey approach that they've worked on for years. And so we are in a competitive mode with those folks. And if we don't provide that, the folks that understand and have the knowledge and resource to be able to move their kids to that, they will choose that if we don't provide that quality product. So it's imperative that we have that standard of quality and that we move fast to be able to provide that to our families and our community.
Perfect, thank you. Up next, we have a question from Beth. Beth, if you would like to go ahead, introduce yourself and unmute your microphone.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. VanWagoner. I'm Beth Holmes-Bozung. I am a local business owner, co-founded a couple of IT businesses, and I'm currently serving as the co-chair on the board at Traverse Connect. So it's fantastic to have you.
Thank you.
I had the pleasure of sitting through, but that's not the right words, observing all of the previous interviews. And I was looking at my notes from yours. I had a lot of notes, and I noted that you referenced Good to Great, Jim Collins, and his business community, he's in. But that was nice evidence to me, because you mentioned Chief Learner and that you take ongoing learning seriously. And I thought that was interesting that, that's a different discipline from education. So that was cool to hear. One of your questions to the board, I noted, was what the next step higher was to TCAPS becoming a world-class institution 2 to 5 years down the road. And I really loved hearing that. I believe that TCAPS could benefit from a BHAG.
Absolutely.
I'm told
very audacious goal. Absolutely.
Right. I'm told there's a vision in the blueprint. I'm not sure people know what it is, and I don't see the community rallying behind it. So my question for you is, in your past current position, what steps have you taken to change that, to define those big goals and to rally people and frankly, get dollars behind them, because there's dollars in this community that TCAPS is not getting, in my opinion.
Right.
It could be.
I think it's one of the things we've done well here in the last 4 years in Alpena. Again, it was Alpena is a unique place. It has, some of the uniqueness that Traverse City does that, a lot of people still, I think, that I meet in Traverse City that, are natives or have lived there for a while, they still feel like there is some isolation, of northern Michigan still. The reality is when you leave Traverse City and you head south, you're 2.5 or 3 hours from, any really major, area, which you hit Lansing or whatever that is. The same with Alpena. And so one of the things we've had to do is make sure that we connect and always have a voice and are present in Lansing and in the Detroit area and all those kind of things, to a point where, I even participate in the Detroit Chamber's Mackinac Policy Conference every year. I am there to be able to make sure that my district and my region's voices are just like theirs in that aspect. But one of the things that I truly believe in is that if you want to be the best and go look at the best. And so one of the things that we've tried to do here is I've written grants and gotten dollars. And I say it's really we, collectively as a group, I have some great people, and we together, have written some grants, and members of the business community have helped with that amazingly. And we've received funds to be able to go visit. So one district that we really like is Kettle Moraine School District in Wales, Wisconsin. It's about 30 minutes outside of Milwaukee, and it's a district that has been identified as a leader education district, district to watch by Education Week magazine. Time has written on their work. They score very, very high on the PISA, which is the world, a worldwide test that is given that looks at academic achievement. When you hear of people like Finland and Singapore and others that have scored really well, they benchmark themselves to that. They don't benchmark themselves to other people in Wisconsin or necessarily even other people in the United States. And the interesting thing that we found there is that it is a district that provides an unbelievable amount of choice to their students and allows them to get involved in the community, in the business community. So for instance, they actually have 4 high schools within one high school. They have schools within school. They have a science and health academy within their school. They have a performing arts academy within their school. They have a global focus school within their school. And so the science and health one was just unbelievable to me, that students actually self-schedule their own 2-week mentorship program and health and science program with local doctors, scientists, those things on their own. And they do it at different times, but are able to be flexible in what they're doing and be able to leave the classroom and stay up with it using digital tools, doing these things. But they have their own cadaver lab that the hospital put in at the high school. They have, I'm talking with an 11th grader that is going into pre-med, and he was telling me about, he had the chance to sit in on open heart surgery. He wants to be a cardiac specialist and be able to go in and be able to do that. And so when you talk about real life and relevance to that learning that they have, it was unbelievable. But again, they've partnered with the hospital, they've partnered with local community, to be able to do that. And so we've also, many of us have visited High Tech High, which is a high performing charter school in San Diego that is a project-based learning high school that scores really well in the top, lots of poverty, but yet scores very well high on top of all of California's achievement, ACT, all of those things. So I think that one of the issues that I found here in Alpena was often you find yourself comparing yourself to the local districts that are around you. And it's really hard when you are the big dog, when you are 10,000 students. And that's not discounting all of the smaller districts around, but I think that there's an expectation from a lot of people that if we're going to be world class, how do we go see what world class looks like? And how do we begin to make, through the blueprint, through those elements, how do we begin to say, okay, this is what it would take in the good to great concept of Jim Collins. What do we have to do to be able to do that? What are the resources we need to do? How can folks such as the business community, regional foundations, those kind of folks help us to get there? If we feel that that's what we want to do and be. Again, we may go to one and say, that's not our fit. That's not our community culture, but this over here is. And so as you find that place or a couple places, begin to find resources to have people go, because a lot of times they'll say as a teacher, that teacher looks like me. Those kids look like my kids. And look what they're doing. I can do that. But when you read it in a book or you hear about it on TV, it goes, well, maybe they don't have some of the issues that we have, or the geographic, issues of being a district with 300 square miles. There are only 4 square miles, So you try and find those like places. And so that's something that we've done a ton of, and we've been very successful at grant writing since I've been here. We've received through competitive grants at the state level, and community foundation work and those things, we've raised over $6 million in 4 years. We've completely re-outfitted our entire STEM, and we do career and technical education programs right in our high school. We've been able to completely outfit that and not use a single general fund dollar in doing that. And we have top class, world-class quality equipment, Haas, CNC mill, all those kind of things doing that. And again, we're just not comparing ourselves to the people around us. I do compare us right now to Traverse City. I do compare us to, Kettle Moraine in Wales, Wisconsin, High Tech High in California. That's in my mental model of what I'm looking to try and see if that raises the bar. But again, I have my experiences and what we've done here. It doesn't mean it's the same fit in Traverse City. That's something we'll have to explore. And people collectively, as we talk about leadership styles of distributive leadership and transformational leadership, let's look at it all together and see what fits us, and then set that, maybe it's a big, hairy, audacious goal to get there, and how do we begin to try and transform and do that?
Thank you. I have another question. Molly, do you have a lineup? Because I can hold off if people haven't had a chance to ask.
I do have two other people. I can let them ask theirs, and then we can circle back to you if that's okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. So the next person that had a question was Kevin. Kevin, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself and unmute your microphone.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank
Good
you for
morning.
being here. I'm Kevin Klein. I'm the airport director here at Cherry Capital Airport. And we have a lot of different relationships with TCAPS, from property easements, students coming to job shadow. And so we do a lot of different things with TCAPS, and we're very proud of that relationship. But I'd like to take my question a little bit following up on Whitney's question, and really looking at the situation and pandemic at hand. There's going to be some hard decisions that have to be made on programming. One of the examples I use is I have 3 boys also in the school system. One recently graduated, one graduating, and then one in the middle school. We've all used the schools over here, Westwoods, West Middle, and West Senior High. And lots of great programs, from the early college program, secondary sports like tennis, going to state championships with tennis. And then also I have a child that requires a 504 IEP plan. And so you're going to be faced with cuts with administration, cuts in sports programs, cuts in nursing. And so those that have special needs and requirements, I'd like to know what's your thought in those plannings, what's your priorities, how do you go about addressing those types of concerns?
So first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about a mentality of cuts versus revenue. So, I'm not yet willing to lay down the sword on that. Our state has some ability to mitigate some of these things. There's been a lot of things put out there, and I totally respect, Wayne Schmidt, worked with them, Molly in his office, and know, what the thought process is and all that. But, what he's put out there of a 25% cut is an absolute worst case scenario that I don't think is a reality. There are things not being talked about in there, such as we have a $1.2 billion rainy day fund that the state, has established. 25% of that per fiscal year can be used. So we're looking at about $270 million can be infused into the budget for the current fiscal year we're in. And that our school fiscal year ends June 30, the state's is September 30. But also another 25% can be used in next fiscal year. They can definitely lessen that blow. Also, I think, one of the things that we're talking and working with all of our federal legislators, members of the U.S. House of Reps and U.S. senators, is the idea of there's been a lot of money put out in CARES Act funding, but it's been very limited in the scope of what it can be used for. So I think there's some real lobbying and a lot of discussion still on flexing up the regulations on what those dollars can be used for. And so I think all of those avenues, including there's some possible bonding opportunities of our retirement, which I don't love the idea of remortgaging the farm of our retirement. At the same point, I would rather do it than lose some of the programs and things that you just talked about that are good for kids. I want to explore every one of those and advocate with state and federal legislators on all those things first before we begin to say, okay, we're going to have to, at that point, settle and say, okay, we have to make cuts. And so when you get to that point of cuts, the district has established that district blueprint. So we have to look at what are the things that impact, the budget that are farthest away from kids. You know, with a student with a 504 or with special needs, you know, we still have an obligation of FAPE, of free and public education, and a reality of IDEA, so the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And so I fully believe in, first and foremost, we have to follow that and support our kids that are many times need us the most in that aspect. But doing that very frugally and smart. Are there ways to be able to look at partnering, you know, with the ISD? You know, that's something that the ISD is in a little bit of a different situation. ISDs are funded still through property tax dollars. And so they're not going to see the type of hit that our public school district, our traditional districts are. So how is it that I can work with Nick Glarick at the ISD to be able to, you know, make sure that our kids, especially our kids with special needs, have the most resources possible? Again, they don't have endless resources. I've worked as an assistant superintendent at an ISD, so I know what that looks like. And in sports and those things, you know, my goal would be to keep it as much as we can, and then also, you know, I might be out there with all those teams helping support fundraising. I might be there holding a sign, selling, you know, candy bars. I have 4 daughters that would be coming to the school district with me. I have everything from a tennis player to a trumpet player to a basketball player to a first robotics, you know, team member. All those things, and those are things that are great for kids and keep kids in school. And so, how can we, you know, if we do have to get to that point, and it gets to that point where it starts to impact those things, what are other ways we can look at? We've done things such as sponsorships. We've done business sponsorships here. You know, looked at ways to be able to do that. We've talked with our community foundations. One of the things that we have here that I think is something to look at possibly if you get in that situation, we have a youth and rec millage here in our county. So that supports our kids' transportation for those kind of elements and those kind of things that our public has valued. And so, you know, allows some funding and things for us to be able to maintain those things when a lot of those things were impacted here in Alpena. You know, I have a real history of finding resources. When I walked into Alpena, the district was in deficit. It was $2 million in the hole. It was at risk of state takeover. So I'm used to doing things without money. I'm used to building. I'm used to collaborating, finding, you know, taking 2 pennies and making them 5, you know, and that's what you have to be able to do in this element. But again, how can we partner with people that find those things valuable? How can we not duplicate resources with other districts, with the ISD, and again, maximize any opportunity for revenue generation that we can is something that we have to seriously look at, you know, across the board. And there are lots of ways, from grants to, you know, millage funding to advertisements to community foundations, state, national. We've done it all here in Alpena to be able to build and maintain what we have. And I think that's going to be a reality of all those things for us to move forward.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now I would like to turn it over to Nick. Nick, if you'd like to go ahead, introduce yourself and unmute your microphone.
Dr. VanWagoner, I'm Nick Nissley, and I serve as the president of Northwestern Michigan College. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
Likewise. I've got a 2-part question. Often community colleges are seen as a sort of talent development agency as it relates to the workforce, and it's surely how we see ourselves at NMC. But if you take a pipeline sort of perspective, that K-12 input into the community college is vitally important in terms of the output that we have onto the workforce of the region. So the 2 parts of the question are, I'd just like to hear you reflect a bit in terms of your strengths and how you would leverage those strengths for a partnership with NMC in terms of the talent development in the region. And second, some specific examples of the partnerships that you may have done with Alpena Community College as well.
So appreciate the question. Really good to meet you, and I've heard good things. So you know, keep it up. I can tell you, I have an unbelievable relationship with Don McMasters, who's our president at Alpena Community College. We have you know, done some great work together that has helped both of our institutions immensely. We have an extremely, you know, for our district our size, an extremely large early college program. I think we'll be, after going into this fall, we'll probably be pushing over 300 kids in our early college program at Alpena Community College, let alone all of the dual enrollment also that happens. We have a lot of kids and families that take advantage of that. I just got our numbers for our rates. We had this semester, I think we had 27 students graduate with degrees. Over 2,000 credits were earned in our early college program. We had four kids that had a 3.9 or above, and 2 were perfect 4 points. So we definitely value that, and we've been able to do some neat things to be able to, a part of our Marshall Plan that was a partnership with our business community, our ISD, our school district, and the college. We were able to generate that funding that allowed us to do some things that gave resources to the college. So for instance, we were able to get some competency-based education components going and some materials to be able to do that. So precision machining, we were able to, part of that, be able to purchase and buy equipment through Snap-on that allowed all of their automotive program, electrical, others to be able to have equipment that is top-notch to be able to do that we all received. One of the big partnerships that we were able to do is that enhanced that through the Marshall Plan is there's a section in the State School Aid Act called Section 61B. And what that did is for any student that receives college credit and they're in a CTE program, we're able to generate a substantial amount of funding by having that partnership. So we were able to work with the college and have all of our instructors become adjunct faculty, as well as using Alpena Community College instructors as well for a part of the courses. And we were able to generate over the last 4 years, each year, over $600,000 in funding that's been jointly used to be able to pay all the tuition bills and those things for those students to be able to do that, which traditionally hadn't been done. Every student that is in our CTE program has an Alpena Community College transcript. They've been accepted into the school. They have a tour. They've been in that building. They take some of their coursework in the building. And so it's a great tool for all of our kids to see what they have to offer to them and moving forward as they're considering, especially our kids, certificates, associate's degrees, those type of programs. So that, has been an unbelievable jolt for them financially. They were one of the few community colleges with what we've done with that and our early college program that has had increased enrollment in the state of Michigan. They were one of only 2, I believe, a year ago that had increased enrollment, from those programs that we were able to specifically identify. We've also partnered in trying to work with we have a military base here, CRTC, which is a joint Air Force base with our airport. And so we've been able to work, they have a drone program. And so we're trying together to work on having our students be a part of that program. And we're advocating that to try and get the military, the National Guard, to consider bringing 2 drone airplanes, and all the people and the workforce of military that would help to expand the base as well, working with the general in charge of that with the Michigan National Guard. So we partner as much as we possibly can. One of my principals is on the board of the college, so we stay very much in close. In fact, just yesterday, talking about what we could do to help them, as they're actually in a unique situation that they are a 503C C3, and so they're eligible for the payroll grant, through the COVID emergency cares funding. And so, any letter of support, any type of things like that we can provide, we're doing so. But, every way that we can share programming, and we've talked about even at some point of trying to do some shared, facility work, that, to not duplicate effort, from that standpoint. We do, have our buildings available for them for classes. Our mechatronics lab that we just built, they bring students over, to be able to use that top of the line equipment. And so any way that we can, make it a learning community and a learning collaborative, I'm all about. And Don and the board at the community college, I think that we've got a model of collaboration that's second to none in that way.
Perfect, thank you. I do want to be respectful of your time. I know it is right at noon here. Do you have a few extra minutes where you could?
I totally do. I have all the time you need.
Okay, all right. So we have 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. I do have to be off at 12:15, so we'll just get through these last 2 questions. And I do want to allow Beth to come back on screen. Beth, I know you mentioned that you had another question you'd like to ask. So would you like to go ahead and ask that now?
Yeah, thanks, Molly. So the question is, and not going to sugarcoat it, TCAPS has had some challenges in how parents felt treated by administration. And this wasn't like a one-off situation, like their kid was disciplined and they didn't like this done. It was on the bigger stuff, like closing, moving schools, they feel heard. And I do believe the data supports that potentially lost some enrollment. So, and I know some of that is inevitable, but I'm wondering in your current leadership position, your past leadership positions, what systems and expectations have you put in place to support positive relationships with parents and making sure that they're engaged?
So a few things. So when I came here, one of the first things I did is I established a superintendent's advisory council of all the PTO presidents. So I meet with them monthly, and it's an agenda that has some things on it, but I make sure to leave a lot of time for, I want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to know what are people unhappy about, what are the issues, what are things that, they're seeing coming down, with maybe an issue that's not being communicated well, or I ask them to be very blunt and honest with me in that aspect. The other thing that I do is multiple times a year, I go and visit with every PTO. I sit in front of them, give them the opportunity to be able to talk to me about that. I give them things that we're thinking about, ahead of time. And sometimes, they think it's a great idea. Others, it goes over like a lead balloon. And that's important for me because that gives me the opportunity to go back and rethink that a little bit. That is this a direction that we even should be going, or is there something in my messaging or a component of it, that is not good. So I will often float balloons just of, here's something another district's doing. Tell me what your thoughts are on that. Or, just give me some ideas with that. And quite honestly, I pride myself, and I think my board has rated me, really well on the idea that I am a visible and open person that makes myself available for people to come and talk to me. I do coffee talks at restaurants all over town, in different parts of our county. We are the second largest geographic district in the state of Michigan, 604 square miles. So you can imagine that I have 2 elementaries that are almost 45 miles apart, north to south, 23. So that means that I do a coffee in Ossining, and I do a coffee in the Grand Lake, Long Lake area. I do one, in Heron Township. I do them in town. And it's my lunch, right? I get lunch, and coffee, and people can come and talk to me. And I have parents that are upset about things, something that's happened, for me to be able to understand, maybe it's warranted, maybe there's an issue, but I listen. I'm not listening to debate. I'm not listening to defend. I'm listening for understanding. And it's a skill that I've had to develop. Early in my career, it's something that I always wanted to jump right in, but I really now try and sit back and just listen. So many times with parents and things, it's, they just feel like nobody sat down and just listened to them. It was on defense. It was a defense mechanism. It was that element. And you have to be, first of all, thick-skinned, but you have to be willing to listen to people and what their ideas are. Because, I'll be the first to say, I don't always have the answers, and I don't always have the best answers. But we need to hear different thoughts and then collectively collect every bit of that data, every thought, all those things that we can, and then collectively the board and others to be able to make those tough decisions. But again, I am a person that believes in thinking outside of the box. And like I said with the question earlier about, let's talk about the cuts, and I say, let's talk about revenues. Let's talk about ways to mitigate this happening. That's a very different thought, in outside the box. And maybe we can't. But I'm at least going to go there and listen to that outside of the box thinking. or, you know, this major issue thing that's out there that here's a way to solve it, or something you're not thinking about that's detrimental to the district, maybe like you had talked about. I mean, did we save $1 to lose 5? You know, and did we not think that all the way through, or project that out, or, you know, talk to, you know, financial advisor, whatever that is, to think that. And so I just really believe in making sure that I'm going to sit there and take every question until I don't have any questions anymore. Similar to what I'm doing now. You know, it's what I believe in, to make sure that I want everybody at least be able to say, you know what, I was heard. You know, may not like the decision in the end, may not that, but I want everybody to walk out and say, he didn't walk away when I got heated, or I had this passionate problem or question or whatever. That's a fundamental thing that in my leadership style, I believe in. I've done that my entire career, and definitely that will not stop if I get the opportunity at TCAPS.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. And then the last question, I would like to turn it back over to Liz McKellar. Liz, if you want to go ahead and unmute your microphone.
Hi, so my last question is, would you clearly define what you believe the role of the school board is and what the role of the superintendent is?
Mm-hmm.
Thank
So,
you.
you know, I've gone through a lot of superintendent's training, Michigan Association of School Boards, you know, sat in even on a lot of their leadership classes, their CEU classes. And, you know, fundamentally for the school board, I believe the school board's role is to set policy and to be able to create vision, a vision for the district of what they believe it should be. What are the policies that are in place for that to happen? And I soundly believe that the board has one employee, and that employee is the superintendent of schools. And then from that standpoint, the superintendent needs to be accountable to make sure that that vision and all of the operations of the district are put in place, and they're done to the expectation and the goals that the board has set for the superintendent. And if I don't meet those goals, I should be evaluated appropriately. If I do meet those goals, we should celebrate collectively that collectively as a district we've met those goals, because John VanWagoner solely does not meet any of those goals without the team. So as the board giving me thoughts, direction on how they see things working, on if that vision is being realized, if the resources as they have set policy for, set a budget, those things are being followed. You know, am I consistently bringing that back to them for, is the vision being met? Are the policies being followed? Are the things that they've put in place that is their role being followed? Or am I bringing it back to be reevaluated because of resource generation or resource cuts and those elements? That's their role to ensure that the governance, you know, works together. And I have a role as a part of that. We're a team of 8 and as a part of a governance team. And together we have to make sure that that role that they have is fulfilled, and then all of the rest of the operations of the district to ensure those things happening fall under my leadership. And it's my job to make sure that the folks that I work with and collaborate with are able to achieve those things, so our students can meet their dreams and their goals and have an expectation that our community has to be a world-class school district. And so that's the way that I approach the board's role and my role with working with our team.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Warren, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, thanks, Molly. And thanks, Dr. VanWagoner. We really appreciate your opportunity, or our opportunity, to have you here with us today. It's been great to hear your perspective, and I'm just thrilled that the TCAPS board has such great and strong candidates. So thanks for spending some time with us, and thanks to the community leaders that were able to join us as well today to ask some really great questions. We will have these interviews forums posted on our website by 3 p.m. Or earlier today to share out with the community. So once again, thanks to everyone for being involved, and we appreciate everyone's questions and time.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.